Good morning. Welcome back to my channel. So today I have a little story to tell, and we're going to do a little bit of macro photography. Now before we start, if this is a vlog that you think I'm going to go through all the minute details of settings, etc., I'm not, because I have something to say on that subject. When I started macro photography, I don't know, 3 months ago, I was watching YouTube videos, learning about what stuff you need to buy, what equipment you need. And I was watching hundreds, and everybody that's a pro macro photographer, they all have different ideas about what settings you use, what equipment you use, what they think's best, what they don't think's best. And to be honest with you, it's a bit of a minefield. So my conclusion is, for me anyway, with not knowing anything about macro photography, apart from it being close up and very detailed, I didn't know what equipment I needed. So for me, that was the most important information that I could get off YouTube. And any documents or articles on the internet, via Google search, if you will. And it came quite apparent to me that obviously you need a flash, you need a diffuser, and you need a macro lens. Even though that's not a necessity, because obviously when I first started I didn't want to spend a load of money on something that I may not use often enough. I didn't know where it'd be so challenging for me that I'd get fed up with it. So I didn't want to spend the money. So I think in a few vlogs before you saw that I got that Nisi filter. And that taught me a lot of things in a very, very short time. If you are on a budget, which to be fair, most of us are, that seemed to be an ideal, what's the word I'm looking for? That was an ideal solution before I decided to go ahead to buy a macro lens. But that actually made me buy a macro lens, because when I got the Nisi filter, it was only magnification for 1:1. And it worked, well, they say it worked best on a 200mm zoom lens, which I had. But with all that said, there was that many challenges with using a zoom lens: weight, the distance, your working distance. It just made everything a little bit, oh, for God's sake, keep trying to get focus and keep trying to get the distance between the subject and the lens, etc. So even though I got some half decent results from it, it taught me very quickly that now this isn't the way forward. I need to get a macro lens. So I did. But I'm still learning. So when I started watching all these YouTube videos and looking at these, professional guys and girls, it taught me one thing. Everybody's different. And all I feel that I took away from these YouTube videos was the basics of the settings. So your flash, high speed. The actual power settings, well, that depends on all your subjects, all the different environments, everything, the light, as far as lighting is concerned. So sometimes you can take photographs at 1/28th of power on your flash, 132, and so on and so forth. Even half power, even full power. But generally, anything between, I would say, 8th power, 16th power, 32 power is probably going to be okay. And on your camera settings for that, all camera models are a little bit different on the synchronization of the flash. It's usually between 200 and 250th of a second on your shutter speed. So 200. Use 200th of a second on your shutter speed. Obviously, lens-wise, depending on what lens you get, I have a Laowa lens, as you know, and it doesn't have, it's manual, so it doesn't read the lens aperture. So you've got to set the aperture manually. Manually. So I've found that between 5.6 and 11 is a good range, but I set off starting at f8. So 200th of a second and f8 and ISO 100. So they're like the three basic settings that you can get to actually get off decent results. But then it's up to you as the photographer to make it your own. Once you've got the basics, you just try all sorts and you work what's best for you. So yeah, I can sit for hours watching YouTube videos. Yes, I may get some good ideas, about doing photography inside, which we're doing today, which I'll get round to. But when you're outside in the field and you're taking photographs of bugs, etc., all these settings are pointless because you'll set up your basic one, but you'll find you'll change it, perhaps to get a dark background, to get a light background. And knowing how to do it is all trial and error because every light situation is different. So this is what I've been trying to learn over the last few weeks. I have noticed certain things about, I was getting a dark background and I thought, I don't like that dark background, but how can I change it? Well, I just slowed my shutter speed down. So basically all it does is open up your sensor to a little bit more light, therefore illuminating the background a bit better. Because changing your speed doesn't affect your flash power because that's set manually. So no matter what your speed is on your camera for your shutter, all that's doing is allowing less light at a lower shutter speed, or more light at a slower shutter speed and less light at a higher shutter speed. Doesn't affect the actual end exposure because your flash is set to what you've set it at. So you just mess about with your settings and just learn as you go along. And that's what I've been doing. Yes, it's challenging. Certain focusing skills on a manual lens with such a shallow depth of field is quite difficult. So if you're using a 2.8 aperture, you're letting as much light in as physically possible to that lens, but it does affect the background and sometimes the sharpness depending on how big your image is. So if you're on a little minute insect, then probably f2.8 isn't the ideal setting to use because the depth of field is too wide and you're going to get a soft image. So you turn it to f8 or f11, adjust your power on your flash to create the correct exposure and just mess about and see what you can achieve to get the sharpest image. That's what I've been learning. So what I'm trying to say, oh, coffee, don't hold yourself to what you see on the YouTube videos. Do what you want to do. And you're not going to learn if you don't play around with settings. Because you will find the settings that you require for every different subject. I found when I'm inside and I'm doing some bugs, obviously there's quite a few things to take into consideration. They don't always keep still. And when they don't always stay still in the place that you want them to stay still. So composition becomes quite difficult. And a lot of the videos really that I watch don't actually show that complication, if you know what I mean. You'll see them set up, they'll tell you what the settings are, and then they'll take the photograph. But they don't tell you like the 10 minutes in between doing that the bug's moved here, or it's moved there, or it's in the wrong place, or it is what it is. And for me, sometimes that's the fun of it, is trying to capture that subject when it actually poses for you, if you know what I mean. And then getting the composition that you want is, is the background looking right? So one thing that I did pick up from the YouTube videos is cards, colour cards. Now, you can buy them on the internet, but I've made my own. I have a printer, and you can go online and you can get the cards and you just print them off. So I've just got, different ones that have, different coloured backgrounds. Some work really well with your subject, and some don't. So I have, what have I got here? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I printed on both sides on 2 of them. It says not to do it on gloss paper, but I've tried it and I don't get any reflection back really. Well, not that it affects it that bad. So I did print on both sides just to try it. If it didn't work, you've not lost anything apart from 20p of ink. Well, if that. So making some backgrounds that you can use these inside. You can even take them out in the field and just, rest it on a leaf or on whatever behind the subject. There's all sorts of things that you can do, and you can pick them ideas up from the internet. So having some backgrounds helps the composition and helps the overall finished look. So getting back onto the subjects. My little story was 2 days ago. I was just walking down my garden just to check on the chickens to make sure they had water and stuff. And I noticed there was a couple of wrens buzzing around. So I went to get my camera and try and capture the wrens that are buzzing around. And I did get a couple of nice photos, I have to admit. And I'll put them on at some point on this vlog. Anyway, I walked outside of the house towards next to my woodland area, and I was just looking, and corner of my eye, I saw something quite big under my eave of my roof, and I looked. Oh my God! It was a praying mantis, and it was just sat there and not moving, nothing. It looked a bit bedraggled. So I thought, well, I know what the weather's going to be like the next day. And it was the first night of -1 here in Hungary. So I thought, I suspect it won't survive at -1. So I decided to rescue it. So I got a a little plastic bucket, and I captured it, and I brought it inside here into my summer kitchen. The chickens shut up. And I have a couple of plants in here from outside that survived through the summer and stuff. Some chili plant actually, and I brought them inside to keep them safe so they don't freeze, because they've still got fruit growing, and chilies growing. So I just put it on there, and this is the third day now, and it's I've put it on the floor in the window, so in the morning it gets the sun and it gets warmed up, and I'm still using it for a bit of photography. It's actually quite a big subject, so obviously I'm going to have trouble in photographing the whole body and have everything in focus. So that's where focus bracketing is going to need to come to fruition. Now, like I said, I've got the lower 90mm lens and it's fully manual. So I can't set my bracketing on my camera, set how many pictures I want and press the shutter and it takes the photos. I've got to do it myself. Either do it on my rail that I bought just by moving it, or trying to do a handheld stack. And I think on my previous vlog I said I'm not quite ready for the manual photos doing stacking on it. I'm not stable enough yet. I'm still practicing. But I did do one, and as far as the sharpness is concerned and everything about it, it's fine. But I think I did move down and moved a bit to the side, just my movement. So when I actually put it through the Helicon focus stacking, because I've moved my subject, I think it aligned it. I think in the program, I can't be 100% sure, but I think in the program it aligns it, so it actually cropped it. Because looking at the original image on the raw image that I have, there was actually more in focus, but because obviously I'd moved, it had cropped it, so it's all of it isn't in the frame, but everything that is in the frame is in focus. So I can't say it's a fail, because it's not, because everything that did get captured is in focus. It's just the composition that's wrong. But I'm learning, so it's still an interesting photograph to me, and I'll put it on for you to look at, and I'll show it. And then I did another one that I did with me rail, and there again it's okay. Everything that should be in focus is in focus. With the, maybe I should have took maybe 2 or 3 more images, and then it would have the increments that I moved maybe was too much, so I should have halved the increments and took double the photos, and then it would have been, because you do get some sort of weird stuff happening when you do it on the stacking software if you don't get it perfect. But there again, it's all about trial and error. You have to practice these things. You can't just do this photography and every image that you get is going to be, oh, that's beautiful, it's perfect, the composition. It's not going to happen that way unless you're something special, and I'm not something special, so you've got to do it that way. So I've just spent 2 days, half an hour. I've been taking images of this praying mantis. Still looks a bit bedraggled, but it seems to be okay, and it's still alive, so I've done my thing. I've made it survive a bit longer than perhaps it should have done. So what I'll do, I'll show you where it is on my setup. I've just turned the pot round and I've put my card and bent it in. Turn my cap back because I can't get it to my eyepiece. But what you must remember to do is when you're focusing is put your magnification button on. Whether you do it, I only need to do it ×5 because it's such a big subject. And just try and compose it, focus on it, and then just click on your 5 times, move your focusing area with your toggle button, and just focus on it to make sure everything's sharp. And once it's all sharp, take your photograph. Now at the moment, just turn it this way a bit. At the moment, because I've come out of the sun, because the sun was directly shining through the kitchen, it was terrible. I've moved into the shade. So I've put my modelling light on the flash, set at number 9 by the looks of it. And I'll just turn it off a sec. So my modelling light's set at number 9. My power, because I've moved out of the direct sun through the window into the shade, I've had to use 1/4 of power on my flash to get the right exposure. As before, I've taken some photos and I was actually at 132, I think, at one point, which is obviously a lot dimmer. So like I say, all this lighting, it all changes. You can't use, just a set settings, if you will. You've got to change it with the light that's around you and what you're working with. So it's at 1/4 of power. My settings on my camera are the shutter speed's 200 and the ISO is at 100, and obviously the aperture doesn't show in here because it's manual, and I think the aperture's at 11. Yeah, it's at 11, and I'm just over 1:1. So it's, let me just have a look. It's like 1:1, 125.1. So it's just over 1:1. I can't get it any closer. Well, I could, but if I turn it to 2:1, I can't even get me. Well, actually I can, because I can use my rail. So if I just move my rail closer, sorry, I'll go the wrong way there. Just tighten up me. Just have a look at the image head on. Just tighten up my tripod. Move my focusing stack, focusing rail. Just move it up to its head a little bit, tighten it up, put my magnification on, and just keep turning until I get on its eye. That's about getting there. And that's at 2:1 magnification. That was a bit dark actually. Let me just put my modelling light on. That's better. 2:1 magnification. And that's at 2:1 magnification. That was a bit dark actually. Let me just put my modelling light on. That's better. 2:1 magnification. And that's at 2:1 magnification. 2:1 magnification. And that's at 2:1 magnification. 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 2:1 mag still need a bit more light. So put it down to 1 to 2 maybe. And put the model light back on. Turn it up to 10. That's better. Not perfect, but better. So that's at 2 to 1, and you can see, I mean, I'm right up to the plant at 2 to 1. I mean, this insect, if you will, is just too big really for that. So, you know, if you pull out a bit, pull it away a tad. Let me just get the focus on its eye. There we go. That's as sharp as I can see. Yeah, much better. So with the insect being so big, you don't have to get in as close, if that makes sense. So I would suggest that on an insect so big, you know, anywhere between 1 to 1 and 1 to 1.25 is probably enough for a big insect. But it's amazing photographing insects like this. I just find it absolutely incredible and amazing. You know, you don't see these things really up close on a day-to-day basis, do you? So when you see them up close, it's incredible. I'll tell you what I have noticed a little bit is on your battery power on your flash, if your battery power's low, I mean at the minute, mine's on the last bar. So when it's on the last bar, you do tend to find that if you've been shooting at a lower power and the battery's going down, then you tend to need to up the power when the battery level goes down. I don't know if that's just not a flaw, but if your battery's not fully charged, then I don't think you're getting the correct lighting, if you will. It's trying to suck off power that isn't there. So that's why I've just had to move it from 8 down to half power, because it wasn't lighting it up. Now before it was, but I just didn't realise that the battery has dropped another bar. So my battery's ready for going out. So that's another thing to keep in mind as well. On your flash, make sure your battery is, you know, fully charged when you're doing stuff. I mean, obviously you'd never go out with a half-charged battery. You'd charge it out before you go. But obviously, depending on how busy you are with your flash, you don't know how long your battery's going to last. I mean, I've never had a problem with this battery. It seems that I can go for a few hours without it running out. It's actually very good. The flash I'm using is a Godox, and it's I can never remember the model number, 860 Mark III. And the battery is quite a big battery, and it's one of those lithium ones, I think. So it does last a long time, so I wouldn't worry, because I was thinking about getting another battery as a spare, but I don't think I'm going to go out for a session that's going to take me longer than 3-4 hours, to be honest. So I don't think a spare battery is necessary. I mean, same with the camera. I mean, fortunately, I've got the double battery system. I've got the battery grip, so I've got 2 batteries, and that lasts. Normal use, it can last for a couple of days. Obviously, if I hammer it, you know, I'm taking lots of photos, it'll still last a day. or nearly a day session. As long as you don't keep looking at your viewfinder, not your viewfinder, your LCD screen, keeping that all the time, because obviously that draws more power. But if you use it, and that's why I always keep it closed. I always look at this stuff through my viewfinder, because it doesn't use as much power, and I can see better. Obviously, I wear glasses, and my eyesight's not the best anyway. So yeah, I can't really say much more about macro photography in that respect. Just, you're the photographer. You do what you think is right. Not everybody's going to like your photographs. People are going to criticise your photographs. But end of the day, if you like them, you like them. And, you're doing the photography. Don't be always going out there to try and please everybody else. For me, it's a hobby. I'm not selling any photographs. If I was, I wouldn't have an R6. I'd have an R5. Because obviously it's got 45 million pixels. And for cropping and stuff, you may need to crop a bit but not lose any detail. I mean, that's another conversation about, you must have this, you must have that. No, you don't. It's like having the difference between 4K and 8K. It's pretty pointless, really, because the eye can't see any difference between 4K and 8K. That side of things is just about companies making money. And it's ridiculous, really. 1080p, 4K. Well, if your lighting's right, and you can get the settings right, then there's not, as long as you're in HD, there's no point sometimes going in 4K. One, it takes up way more space, and when you're doing it for YouTube, then it's not really a necessity, really. I like to use 4K now and again, because I can, but majority of my stuff now, I'm recording this in 1080p. It's full HD, so crack on, innit? So I don't think I can cover it any more than I have, really, or say anything to you different. But if you're learning macro photography like me, just do what you want to do. Fiddle about with your settings, mess about with your composition. And sometimes you'll get an outstanding photo that you think, oh my God, have I took that? Yes, you have, because you spent the time. And sometimes you just get mediocre ones or just all right ones. I mean, they're all sharp, the colour's nice, but it's not giving you the wow factor on some of your photos. But who cares? Who cares? So I'll put some of the pictures that I've taken of this bedraggled praying mantis that I've rescued. I'll put them on at the end of this. Listen, thanks for watching, guys. If you've got this far, I appreciate it. This is all for me. I love doing stuff like this. It's great, and I'm just passing the information that I've learnt on to you. So if you haven't subscribed, then please hit that subscribe button and hit the like button and the notification bell so you get notified of me doing more stuff. And it helps spread my videos throughout the YouTube environment, if you will. That's probably not the right word to use, but gets it out there in YouTube. And if it helps you to do something, then I'm happy. But the be all and end all for me, this lot is for me. And because I'm retired, I have the time and I can just share it with you. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I said, I'll put the pictures on at the back, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.